Hey everybody, this is Starjump Graham. Let me know if you can hear me okay in chat. Just chime in with a 5x5 or all sounds good. Let me know that my mic is working. All right, showing 5x5. Let's get to it. All right, hey everybody in chat. Hope you're doing well. Hello from Starjump Studios here on beautiful Orison. Nice to see you all again. Going to be a little bit of a short stream today, but we're going to talk about a really cool topic. It's actually sort of two topics. We're going to get into that. Obviously, it's on EWAR, electronic warfare, and scanning, which are two separate topics ultimately, but I think have a lot of overlap in terms of how they're going to interact with each other. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I see Ryan in chat over on YouTube says this is a topic he's been waiting for. I'll tell you this. I'm really interested in this topic as well. I would love for CIG to speak more on it. There have been some streams, or sorry, some content CIG's put out in the past that do discuss EWAR and scanning to some degree, but it's always in service of like a specific new feature that's coming along, like the new ping or something like that. But we're going to talk about it today more like holistically, more as like an entire gameplay system, like a systemic gameplay system, and how we see that coming into the game and affecting future gameplay. So we're going to talk all about that. For just some top of the show announcements here, which I don't want to spend too long on. We are going to be coming back with Starjump Station this weekend. Okay, I'm very excited about that. It's been a long time coming. I know a lot of people have been requesting it, but we are going to have the return of Starjump Station this weekend on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. The first episode is going to be called The Year Ahead. We are going to talk all things, Star Citizen, Squadron 42 for 2025. Okay, we're going to be talking about what we think may be happening, what we think the focus is, what this sort of shift to playability and stability look like over the course of this year, and how that could affect the overall push to Squadron 42, how that could affect Star Citizens 1.0 journey, and kind of all that good stuff. So a lot to talk about there. I know Starjump Ender will be on that episode with me, possibly VMXCO. It's very possible we could have a guest for that episode, but it's more likely we will have guest hosts starting on episode 2 of Starjump Station. I know we've had some false starts of Starjump Station in the past, but I can tell you that I've already got the next 8 episodes planned. And they're like in the process of getting kind of like just getting some show notes created, getting guest hosts confirmed and stuff like that. But the topics are all locked down and feeling really good. I got enough episodes to lead us all the way to Invictus this year. And then obviously we'll do our standard Starjump Invictus coverage and all that kind of good stuff. To celebrate the return of Starjump Station this Friday, couple of cool things is that we will be doing giveaways, okay, which we've not paused on, but we did a bunch for IAE, and it's just we haven't given away any since, but I do plan on giving some away. So this Friday, we're going to get back to giveaways. I'm going to be giving away 2 of these posters, right? The Star Citizen All Ships poster. Okay, I'm going to be giving away 2 of those. We're going to be giving away 2 of this poster, which is sort of known as the contact sheet poster. Okay, it has all the ships on there, except for the Fortune, actually. I need to add the Fortune. Going to be giving away 2 of these. And then we're also going to be giving away either a Fortune or the new Cuddy starter pack, possibly both. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we'll be giving away a ship of some kind. It'll either be the new Cuddy starter pack that comes with the auspicious Red Festival paint and a whole bunch of armor and cool stuff like that, or it'll be a Misk Fortune, the new single-person salvage ship. So If you like giveaways, come to Friday's episode of Starjump Station. Should be fun. Again, I think we've been wanting to get back to Starjump Station for some time. It's really just been trying to like put the pieces in place for that. Okay. All right. Without further ado, we are going to sort of jump into the discussion here on our next big chat, which is on EWAR and scanning. Now, first of all, and real quick, hope everyone is having a great day today. What day is it? It's Wednesday, right? Yeah. Nice to see everybody in chat chiming in, discussing in there. Please feel free if you're in here watching. This chat is open to everyone, whether you're known by me or the Starjump community, or this is your first time visiting the channel. Please get in there, say your thoughts and opinions. Love to hear them. Today, Wolf, we are talking about EWAR and scanning. Okay, it's going to be a little bit of a wandering discussion, but some interesting things we can talk about. And then we're actually going to be doing a bigger discussion on this in a future Starjump Station episode. Okay, but that being said, I would love to be able to hear your all's thoughts and comments and questions and stuff. If you have a question or comment, or if you have a question, put it in like double or triple brackets so I see it. If I miss it, post it again 5 or 10 minutes later. I will hit it. And again, we're going to do some speculating on this episode. This is not an episode that's like let's recap everything CIG has said about electronic warfare and scanning. Primarily, the reason I don't want to do that is because I think CIG is not very far along in any sort of gameplay related to that, other than some of the systemic systems that they have in place. I think it's a great time for us all to be openly discussing this. You never know. We might have a CIG employee lurking and some of this information gets notated down. But I really encourage you all to speak up and say your piece with some of this stuff. So let's actually start. I'm going to bring up, bear with me, everybody. I'm going to bring up some notes here. Is everyone having a good day today? Is it a good day for everybody? Hopefully so. Okay. All right, here we go. So first and foremost, I think we need to kind of just break down scanning and EWAR in sort of the separation between the two. Obviously, CIG has done Inside Star Citizens on radar and scanning, ping, all that kind of stuff. They haven't done much on the EWAR front, but what they have talked about when it comes to scanning, radar, and ping have systemic roll-on effects that are essentially falling into the EWAR part of the discussion. So we'll get into a little bit of that. But let me bring up my slide, which I realized I didn't have prepared. Let's start with scanning, right? I look at scanning as having 3 different modes personally, and I think CIG looks at it as having 2 primary modes, but essentially scanning is sort of dealt with passively with our radar, right? Just our standard passive radar sweeps. And then we obviously have the scanning ping, right? Where we can send out a directed electromagnetic wave forward, and that is supposed to give us some sort of additional information on whatever we're pointing at or whatever we're focused on, right? However, there's a third sort of part to this equation, and I look at that as survey scanning, right? And this is something that I think we will see as we get, and we're seeing a little bit of that now when it comes to salvage and mining. Obviously, we will ping specifically, get possible resources out there, and then move to mine or salvage them, right? But I think they're going to go further with that, and I think that future survey scanning will be able to be done from orbit, or if not from orbit, it'll be able to be done in flight over the surface of planets. CIG has talked to us a little bit at CitizenCon with Planet Tech V5 that there's going to be resource considerations now on planetary surfaces and within certain parcels of land. Those resources are finite, meaning they can and will run out over periods of time. CIG has even said they want to encourage the idea that we may set up an industrial area on a planetary surface with the intent that we may need to move that area in a future session simply because we've run out of resources at that particular location, right? So what does this survey scanning mean? I think we're going to be able to scan planetary surfaces and get in-depth readouts on what resources are in there, what minerals, do they have access to water or geothermals? Like I said, minerals, rare earth metals, all that kind of stuff. And then based off that information, we're going to be able to then decide if we're going to set up a base or whatever there, right? So that the whole scanning radar ping thing, which is sort of the act of gathering information, right, relies on something that we do not have in game yet, right? We can actively pass or we can passively scan and we can actively ping now, right? We can search for resources that are out there. Salute to everyone coming in chat. Appreciate you. All that's in game now, right? We can passively scan and actively ping. However, what we do not have, and which will be critical to this data having any value, and sorry, I went out of focus there, is we need the ability for that scanning information to be a data resource in and of itself, right? It needs to be data that can be stored, transferred, and sold and purchased, right? We need all that. Bad Karma, thank you for that follow. Sending the javelin right overhead. I appreciate it. Those follows, by the way, do help out with the giveaways. They give you more channel points and allow you to do and buy more tickets when you do the giveaways. We'll be doing some of those on our Starjump station on Friday night this week. Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be doing a show, giving away 2 of the all ship posters, 2 of the ship contact sheet posters, and we'll be giving away either a Misc Fortune or a Cuddy starter pack. Okay. So more info on that soon. So again, we need to be able to take scan data and we need to be able to package it, sell it, store it, transfer it, all that kind of stuff. That may be in physical ways where we're moving the data onto some sort of data card, and then that data card can be given to someone, sold to someone. We're also going to need the ability for that data to be transferred, right? So if I scan for something, let's say, and we're going to stay on the topic here. Red Samurai, glad you finally caught one. We're going to stay on the subject of scanning, right, and active ping here. If we're in a larger ship with a larger radar, right? Let's take a Polaris. It's the new big boy in the universe. So you take the Polaris. It's got a big large radar. We're able to scan at much farther distances. If we detect ships out, whatever distance that a lot of our smaller fighters traveling with us cannot detect, we need to be able to transfer that scan data to the smaller ships. Now, maybe they still can't actively engage those targets at distance, but we need to be able to share that data. The scan and ping data needs to become a resource in and of itself. It needs to be something that has value to it, right? And for it to have value, we need to get it out of the closed ecosystem of it just affecting what's happening on our ship. We need to be able to put it on the marketplace. We need to be able to use it for org base building. We need to be able to share that data with people in our fleet so that they all know about potential hostile contacts at a certain bearing or whatever. Again, data needs to be reconfigured. Pain and Hate, hope you're well. Salute to you. Nayrock, thank you for that follow. I really appreciate the follows, everyone. Am I going to have to give away a poster today? It may just happen. But regardless, we need to figure out a way to get that data and almost turn it into a commodity, right? Next thing, if information is data, and if it's something that gets stored on a ship, stored on a card, transferred from one ship to another card, we then now need computer systems in the ship, okay? Or the computer blades. Ships do have computers, okay? Nayrock, thank you for that subscription. Appreciate it. Giving you the double salute for that one. Sending the Kraken flying overhead. Always love that. Thank you for that support, Nayrock. Appreciate you. but we need the computer systems to be active on the ships. Now we know the CIG has this with ships and Star Citizen. This is nothing really new. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pull up. Bear with me, everybody. I'm going to pull up CIG's website real quick here, and we're going to go to let's go to the shop. We'll go to the pledge store here. And we will go to ships. We're just going to go to a random ship here. We're going to let's go to Drake. Actually, let's go to the Corsair real quick. We'll just choose a random ship here. Now, if you go to the technical overview, one of the things that CIG has always been keen to point out in the ship, in the ship technical specs or whenever there is a new concept sale or whatever, is they always point out the computers. Okay, you can see that right here that the ship is equipped with. That is under the avionics category, so it's right up there with the radar. And the reason the computers are so important is that the computers ultimately, while they're not active in game yet technically, the computers are what's going to be the thing that stores, processes, analyzes, transfers, all that stuff, our radar data. Right? So if we scan something, we ping something or whatever, we're going to be able to send it to the computer, or it's going to be pulled in by the computer, analyzed, and stored probably as some sort of information block, right? That information block, hopefully we're able to put in maybe like a memory card, download that data, or we're going to be able to take that memory card or that memory block on the computer and transfer that to someone in our party or in our org, right? Think how the mobiGlas is with MoTrader, where you're sending money, only this would be you're sending a data block, right? And I think that data block, much like a blueprint, would be serialized and all that. So you know how CIG's been talking a lot about blueprints and how there's going to be different levels of them. They're going to be, serialized thing. You have ownership over it. I think that's going to be the same thing with the data block or whatever they're going to call that, right? That bit of information that our computer processes. And the reason is just like a blueprint, CIG is going to have to be able to do ownership transfer. So right now, the way I understand it with blueprints is if you get a blueprint, you automatically learn it. It's a learned thing at that point. But you're also going to be able to sell that blueprint or transfer it, okay, to someone because that's been talked about, right? At least I think that's still the case, but I believe I remember that being talked about. If that is the case, if we transfer the blueprint, do we unlearn it or do we still retain the knowledge of the blueprint and we can just now monetize it? Either way, that transfer of ownership, I think, is going to be reflected in how data is transferred from our computers in our ships, especially if it's ping or survey data, something like that. Okay. So that's a big part of it, right? The computers and dealing with the radar and ping data. Fox Creative Gaming says, question, is the Prospector design so different from the Fortune design that we don't see the same paints on the Prospector that are on the Fortune? Yeah, they're pretty different. They're pretty different, Fox. I've inspected both models, and both models are significantly different. I could probably bring those up at the end of the show today in Cinema 4D if you want to look at both models, but there's a substantial difference between the two. And that's why I was saying on with Execute from InfoRunners, me and Execute were talking, and I was like, and we were both agreeing that the Fortune was probably an onboarding job for an artist. However, I almost look at it as an onboarding plus type job, where it is an onboarding job because this is a variant. Elwin even said that on the Behind the Ships episode on the Fortune. However, there's a lot of significant changes from the Prospector, so it's kind of like an onboarding plus type workload versus something like the Hornet Mark IIs, which are a little bit more of a simple kind of onboarding thing, in my opinion. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the idea of scanning, okay, and we're in radar and all that. We're going to talk more about that here in a minute, but now let's move over into EWAR. Okay, I'm going to bring up a few slides for that. So the first one here is all right, electronic warfare. Electronic warfare, it's warfare involving the use of the electromagnetic spectrum to attack the enemy and impede enemy operations. Okay, so there's both offensive and defensive electronic warfare. The idea is to decrease the enemy's effectiveness in battle using electronic-based modules. Again, this could be through a variety of means, right? So it could be through radar, our radar system as a whole, in terms of emissions, both gathering emissions, sending out false positive emissions, all that kind of stuff. But those modules could also be in the form of EM torpedoes and EMP pulse mines or something like that. There's a lot of different form factors those electronic based modules could take. They could be full on weapon systems, or they could be extensions of our ships, antenna arrays and radar arrays and stuff like that. Electronic warfare is also generally referred to as a force multiplier, or considered a force multiplier in battle. While it's not the only thing you're going to walk into a battle with, it is something that can really boost your chances of success in like an outright, conflict, hostile versus hostile conflict. So I think electronic warfare is something that'll be pretty clutch in any sort of battle where there are 3 or more ships, right? 2 versus 2, you're really just sort of slugging it out. Once you get to 3 versus 3, and as soon as any sort of larger ships start getting introduced, electronic warfare really becomes a critical tool to use in that battle, and again starts to turn into this force multiplier, right? All right, moving along. There's a couple subdivisions of electronic warfare. Again, a lot of this is pulled from common data. I pulled some of this from Jane's defense and the wikis, but most of this is pretty kind of boilerplate stuff. Obviously, there'll be some differences with how it's translated into Star Citizen, but essentially the first kind of subdivision of electronic warfare as an umbrella term, the first kind of subdivision of that is what we would call maybe electronic attack, right? So think of this as more a little bit more offensive in nature, right? So an electronic attack, or also known as electronic countermeasures, ECM, involves the offensive use of electromagnetic energy weapons, okay? This can include radar jamming. So when you actively jam someone's radar system, right, which happens in the military all the time, that is considered an offensive act, right, when you're actively jamming, because you're initiating that. And then obviously this can include things like I just discussed, anti-radiation weapons such as missiles, bombs. I think we could also say mines put in there. So while, for example, we're going to talk about the Nautilus here in a little bit, but while the Nautilus doesn't have any electric or electromagnetic based mines. I think it only has like the Sentry mines and the actual homing mines, which I guess the homing does have an electromagnetic aspect to it. But I do see some sort of mine system for the Nautilus that will impede communications and disrupt radar scanning and ping or something. I see that being something. Ryan says, don't forget offensive hacking. Yes, absolutely. And the one reason I didn't have that listed here, Ryan, is I don't know if that hacking is considered an FPS gameplay loop or if the ship itself is doing the hacking, right? I'll be real interested to see that, especially when the Anvil Legionnaire comes online, right? We all know the Legionnaire is supposed to be able to hack into a ship's docking procedure and initiate docking. The Legionnaire docks with the ship, and then troops can run off Legionnaire, board the ship. I don't know how if CIG considers that hacking to be more FPS scanning type gameplay, which would still be electronic warfare. Don't get me wrong, but I am focusing a little bit more on the ships here, or if that's going to be done via the Legionnaire and its tools. So I would be interested in seeing where they go on that. I mean, it's still all electronic attack. Don't get me wrong, but it'd be really interesting. Obliminum says an ECCM would be the sensor suite on a Hornet tracker. Okay. Ryan says, as an offensive hacker in real life, I'm hoping there's hacking gameplay both with ship modules and FPS. Ryan, I think there will be, and you may be able to speak on this even a little better than I can, obviously, if you're kind of in that world. But I personally think that's what they're going to do. I think you're going to be able to do it. I think hacking is from a tier zero standpoint, I think is going to be FPS based in Star Citizen. I think it's going to be very much like you're plugging in the hacking card, you're at the terminal doing your thing, and now you may be doing that from a terminal in the Legionnaire or another ship, but it's sort of still done through this terminal sort of thing. I'm hoping that CIG's plans. Scar Theory, thank you for that follow. Salute. I love all the follows, everyone. Thank you very much. But Ryan, I hope that the plan is that some ships bring on a level of hacking that FPS can't do, right? So my hope is that the Legionnaire has hacking maybe either through its computer or through a dedicated terminal, has the ability to hack enemy systems to a degree that you cannot do through FPS hacking. Hopefully I didn't say that and not sound like an idiot, but that's the idea. I'm hoping ships bring a level of benefit over FPS hacking in the long run. There'll be a place for both of them, obviously, because there's going to be places probably that you need to get with FPS hacking that you kids can't get to with ship-based hacking. But we'll see how CIG does. That's one of the big question marks we've been left with. We heard them say the Legionnaire, you're going to be able to hack the docking procedure for other ships, but I wasn't really sure if that was through the Legionnaire or just through general hacking FPS hacking means. Ryan says, I also hope it'll be hard and require mini game or terminal based and not just insert Tiger Claw. Yeah, I mean, you're spot on with that. I think CIG does want there to be some sort of mini game. They have showed us bits of that mini game in the past, but every time they sort of seem to say it's close and we're going to get it and the hacking game's going good, we then don't hear enough. We don't hear about it for months and months and months or years. So I don't know if they've abandoned the mini game concept, but I agree with you. I hope that's still the plan. Well, and Ryan, you just said it here, and I think this goes along with our entire electronic warfare discussion, and that is, I hope there is a place for skilled hackers and those hackers become in demand, or within your org, you can kind of be known as the one who can play that mini game really well. And you were like the hacker of the org. I think that would be really, really cool. And again, it wouldn't be a formal gameplay loop being the hacker. It would just be a role that you can get good at on your own. And it sort of, in a sense, then becomes an emergent profession in the game, right? Ryan says the Legionnaire has an integrated hacking array module according to its ship page. Okay, that's really cool. So we'll see. We'll see what benefit that integrated hacking array brings. Maybe it's faster hacking. Maybe it's able to break through certain different tiers of security on systems. Again, we don't really have even an understanding of what those electronic security protocols are going to be for ship computers and stuff. We really need that ship computer information. Kev says, does the Star Runner hack carrier signals to steal information? Oh, does the Star Runner hack carrier signals to steal information? I was understanding that it could. I was under this understanding that it could siphon those carrier signals to steal information. That's what I was thinking. If CAG is still sticking with that, Kev. Moving along, though, let's go to our next slide. Another subdivision of electronic warfare would be electronic protection. Okay, so this would be electronic protective measure, EPM, or electronic countermeasure, ECCM. This involves the ability to counter an electronic attack. That's exactly what I'm talking about, sort of those security protocols or what sort of active defensive elements one has at their disposal to fend off an electronic attack, right? So we have electronic attack. Well, now we have electronic protection, which is still part of electronic warfare. Okay, so this obviously involves the ability to counter any electronic attack, but it has the ability to include things like flares. So when you dump flares or chaff, if those are distracting from infrared homing missiles or the future Tephra homing mines that the Nautilus can drop, if you have an active electronic system that is able to disrupt the homing mechanism on those tephra mines, that would be a form of electronic protection, a form of electronic warfare. Okay. It could then also include the use of spread spectral tech, which spreads a signal out over a wide frequency range. Again, this can help with encryption in hardening systems. Okay. Electronic protection, actively sometimes involves the hardening and protection of your current ecosystem, whether it's on your ship or whatever. So all your systems, right? Stand by 1 second, everybody. All right, let's see here. Okay, bear with me 1 second, everybody. I gotta fix one thing on my computer. 1 second. All right, everybody. Sorry about that. We are back. Had to untangle something. Appreciate it. Yes, the Titan Series chair. It's not bad, Wolf. It's not bad. I have a bad back, and it's a little rough on my back, but it's a sturdy chair. It's well made. Phoebes, hope you're well as well. So again, I'm not essentially one of the things that we'll have to see with CIG in terms of the hacking and sort of electronic attack gameplay is, what are you attacking, right? Ultimately, what one needs to be attacking is the computer systems within the ship, right? And that is something we are still missing. Okay, so we'll see where that falls when they eventually talk to us about computer systems. The one good thing is we do know that they're considering that, right? They are considering computer systems. They're well laid out in all the ship technical specs, so we know we're going to get to that. Obliminal says stealth is a protection. It is, and we're going to talk about stealth here in just a minute, Obliminal. I'm glad you brought that up. We are going to talk about stealth. Krivicus, hopefully I said your name right, bud. So does hacking suggest a permission system is available first? Well, we do know we're going to get a permission system, especially when it comes to ships. CIG has talked a little bit about that in the past. It's been a little bit scant, but we have heard a little bit about permissions on ships that will allow certain levels of access. I think they referred to this specifically when they were talking about resource management in one of the very early design brief resource management discussion ISCs they had. So yeah. Okay, let's see here. So yes, we are going to talk about stealth Obliminal here in just a minute, for sure. Okay. All right, let's keep going. So next we have another subdivision, EWAR support. Okay. So essentially this is, electronic warfare support includes the ability to detect, intercept, identify, locate, localize sources of intended or unintended EM energy. Okay. So this is essentially scanning ships, right? So essentially a ship that is able to figure out when and where electronic countermeasures or any of that needs to come into play, right? And I think on like a larger level, certain ships are probably going to be more suited for that than others. We're going to get into that when we switch over to Hangar Link here in a minute. There's also signals intelligence, also known as SIGINT. Some of you have probably heard about this before, but this is analyzing and identifying intercepted transmissions. So again, let's say if a ship does have a carrier signal or some sort of computer system, and we're able to hack into that. Well, is the information, is the hacking into it, do we automatically get the information, or do we then need to analyze that, right? Decrypt it, right? No worries, Obliminal. I'm glad you're hanging out with us today, man. I really am. But when we get that information, CIG has talked a lot about analyzing, right? Now, they've been talking a lot about that in regards to blueprints. But if you go back and read a lot of the initial information that went along with the Endeavor, especially its telescope array module, they talk a little bit about analyzing signals, right? And I sincerely hope that the act of hacking into a ship's systems, for example, or siphoning some sort of carrier wave or carrier signal or something, I think it would be cool to get some information, but you don't get all information. Some information is maybe encrypted, right? And so for example, maybe a lower tier security. So let's say you hack into some ship's computer system. Maybe a lower level security tier of information that you can hack into quite easily is something like door control, so you can open up the doors of the ship or whatever. But a higher tier, more encrypted bit of information, or a more encrypted bit of access would be, for example, the ability to turn off oxygen to the rooms or to turn off components, right? Something that would you know be of a critical nature to the functionality of the ship. So we'll have to see if that's how CIG goes. I sincerely hope they do. I really hope they don't make it where just because you hack the first level of information, or you hack the first sort of gate to the compute to a ship's computer system or something. I hope that doesn't mean you have full access to the ship. I want there to be levels you have to work through. Again, going back to Ryan's comment of really good hackers being able to get through a lot, using a lot of electronic warfare capabilities to be able to hack deeper and deeper into a ship's capabilities. That'd be really cool. So analyzing the ability for ships to analyze and process that signals intelligence, I think, will be pretty key. The next thing, signals need to be detected, analyzed, and relayed. Just going into more of what I said already. So I think that will particularly play well with certain types of ships, right? And there's nothing that says ships that are able to detect, analyze, and relay signals and and signatures. There's nothing that says those ships will be the ones that can then do electronic attack very well, right? We'll have to see if that's one and the same in CIG's term, or if there's going to be ships that need to rely on each other to play that role, right? See Starjump in chat. Hope you're well, Ender. Wolf Blitzer says data running is a little off topic, but I think it will be fun. Maybe even able to listen in on the transmissions of fleets and relay. So yeah, Wolf. I mean, I think all this stuff sits under the umbrella, right? That's why it's hard to. I put it into EWAR and scanning, but really it's a lot of things, right? And that's why we won't be able to talk all of it about it in this episode. We're going to do a bigger episode of Starjump Station where we talk much more about these systems, but I wanted to have a little bit of a shipyard to talk just about some of the tertiary stuff. But yeah, it's a big topic. It's a big topic. And how it relates back to ships, besides just their general functionality, is again going back to when you go to those ship pages, computers are always listed, right? And ships like the Star Runner have more computers in them than other comparative ships they're at the same size. The Star Runner has more computers so that it can deal with more information and manipulate it and exploit it in different ways, right? Essential says this is what's going to make choosing AI blades difficult. Do I want turrets or hacking defense? Exactly. And I think it's going to play really big into the whole electronic warfare stuff. Do you want your ship to be more hardened against electronic warfare, or do you want your ship to be more of just kind of a down and out brawler that is susceptible? But maybe it's got a lot of offensive power, but really is susceptible to electronic warfare. And when you see that divide, I think we're going to see people specialize in stuff. So right now, one of the main ways ships that aren't super combat focused have a big effect on combat are things like the Mantis, excuse me, or sort of any EMP ship or quantum dampener ship or whatever. But imagine when electronic warfare really takes its place and fleets are disabled via quantum dampener or whatever, or EMP or whatever. Ships are disabled, and then electronic warfare ships that are in the fleet with them can start doing their work, right? They break down they'll turn off the shields. They disable any sort of frontline protection those ships have. Maybe they turn off shields and all the defensive measures of the ship, leaving the ship then open to be outwardly attacked with missiles, torpedoes, guns, all that. Or perhaps they break down the defenses of that ship and allow boarding ships like the Legionnaire and Prowler and others to get up on that ship and allow people to board. Again, electronic warfare could have a big foothold, not just in ship gameplay, though. Remember, electronic warfare could play very large, have a very large footprint when it comes into our bases, right? Because remember, our bases are going to be systemic to how ships operate. They have components, they have, the whole resource management system. So they're going to be dealing with the electronic warfare stuff as well. I guarantee you we're going to see electronic countermeasure systems and electronic protection systems for bases, right? We're going to have modules and stuff like that to help protect them. One second, everybody. So yeah, I think we're going to see that. It's important to remember. By the way, everyone, if you are looking to start a second Star Citizen account for some reason, or you're just getting into the game for the first time yourself, please use my referral link posted in chat. Gives you a few extra AUEC. There's also a Dragonfly referral bonus right now that would be really nice. So use my code. Feel free to. I really appreciate it. We're going to keep on trucking here, okay? So the next thing is that all my slides? I think that's all my slides. Yes, I want to pull up. Actually, let's go to the Cutter Scout page for a second here. I just want to use this ethification. Hope you're well. Nice to see you. And again, by the way, everyone, I'm not covering everything related to scanning, radar, ping. I'm not covering everything related to electronic warfare and all that goes into that. This is a huge topic. If I did an episode on this where we talked about every part of it, this Shipyard episode would probably be 7 hours long. We're just talking about some aspects of it that are interesting to me, and we're going to pull up Fleet Viewer in a minute, and we're going to look at how that could play into different ships, okay, which is kind of the point of this episode. So if there's a part of electronic warfare that I'm not bringing up or discussing, it's not that I've forgotten about it or that I'm ignoring it. It's just that the topic is really too big to fully break down in a single episode of Shipyard, okay? Citizen Ninja, hope you're well. Salute to you. Nayrock says a terminal interface like the game GTFO would be cool. You can find craft malware that speeds up hacking, and act like blueprints you can consume in the hacking process. Oh, yeah. Well, so interesting. So, again, one of the things we know about hacking is it's, well, we've heard, I don't know if this has changed, but we've heard that it's got a bit of kind of a hands-on offensive nature to it, where you are, right now, you're putting in your card or whatever, your Tiger Claw, you're doing the hacking. I think that may turn into a mini game. But what we haven't heard anything about are things like crafting viruses, crafting malware, all that kind of stuff. And I don't think we're going to hear anything about this until we get the computer systems in ships, okay, which we do know are coming, right? So looking at the Cutter Scout here again, there's a couple bits of information that are always interesting here. It says here, the Scout model comes with a factory-equipped and beefed-up scanning suite that makes it perfect for pathfinding, surveying, and even reconnaissance and covert intelligence operations. Now, this is an interesting sentence because you can read into future gameplay with that. Right now, what does the radar systems do? We already know what they do. They can essentially do three things. They can passively scan, they can actively ping, and they can find and gather location data for mining and salvage resources. Okay, that's what we know is currently in our scanning suite, right? Oh, and the EMP pulse. Yes, thank you, Wolf. We have the quantum dampening EMP pulse effects in game right now. Okay. But what that doesn't really cover are a lot of these other things, right? So in our active scan, in our passive scans and our active pings, we can gather information on a ship. That is something we can do, right? But it's tertiary information: who owns a ship, who's on board, all that stuff, what the ship is, etc. But this says right here, pathfinding and surveying. So right away we know that one of the things certain ships are going to be really good at is finding resources underground, okay, for pathfinding and surveying. That's exactly what that's for. It's for base building, okay? We're going to get that, right? And not just base building, but industrial building and possibly future ground mining and stuff. So we know that we're going to get that bit of gameplay added to the scanning suite. It also says here reconnaissance and covert intelligence operations. Well, that to me reads very much into what we were just talking about a little bit ago, which is this idea where you are um, gathering encrypted information about a ship's systems. So it's one thing to know, for example, if I scan and I see a Kraken, okay, let's say I'm in a Star Runner and I scan a Kraken. It's one thing to know that it's a Kraken and that there's 14 people on board, okay, and that its shields are up. That's one level of information, but it's like read-only information, right? We can't do much with it. It gives us some information, but doesn't really do much with it. What what is the next level of that is going to be information that allows us to actively affect the ship, right? Again, that's now where our scanning and our ping and our electronic warfare start to turn into hacking gameplay, right? Hacking gameplay is really not any different than electronic warfare at all. So that's when that hacking or that electronic warfare becomes hacking. That then allows us to learn a lot more things about the Kraken. Okay, now we can maybe disable its doors. We can turn off its gravity. We can turn off its components. We can shut off oxygen to the rooms, etc. By doing that, we're now having a direct influence over the ship itself. Okay, that's a whole other level. And I think that will have things like encryption that we need to defeat, the hacking minigame, all that. There's also, again, the reconnaissance and covert intelligence operations. So, for example, remember our computer systems we talked about. Let's say a pathfinding ship like the Odyssey goes out and it scans a planetary surface and it finds a really good area on a planet or a moon that has a lot of good resources, right? It has uh, unobtainium, endertanium, grimitanium, all the good metals, right? It has all that good stuff underground. And that Odyssey has that information stored on its computer banks. Well, I want to be able to find that ship, do electronic measures to break into the computer systems, find those data blocks. Remember how we talked about data blocks being transferred? Grab those data blocks and steal them, right? Maybe either outright steal them or copy them, but essentially nullifying the value that that data has, right? So, what would be the counter to that? Well, again, we're talking emergent gameplay loops. The counter to that would be that if you're out there gathering a bunch of sensitive data like that, like let's say if your entire business is going out, scanning planets, finding really good resource deposits, packaging that data up, and then selling that data on the market to people who want to buy bases, well, the value in your data is that no one else has it. So to secure that data, so no one steals it and nullifies the value, you're going to want to use very high level encryption on that data, which probably is going to require another computer blade, an encryption computer blade that will encrypt data for you. And again, going back to someone's comment earlier in the chat, your computer systems in your ships have a certain number of slots. Okay. You're going to have to pick and choose which slots, and that's going to really shape and define what your ship can do. So, for example, your Star Runner may not be the same as someone else's Star Runner. So, you know how CIG has talked to us about ship crafting and how you're going to be able to craft different tiers of the same ship using better materials and all that? And resource management and tuning is going to allow us to tune all of our components to different levels, further differentiating one ship from another ship. Well, the next level of that will be when we can further adjust things like our computer systems in our ship and really start to tailor our ships around certain types of gameplay, whether it's offensive in nature, defensive in nature, ships that are more out, maybe more, lean more into their targeting systems and their ability to have surpluses of power versus a ship that's maybe using a lot of electronic countermeasures or a lot of electronic warfare equipment, thus pulling a lot of power from the power systems of the ship. Again, all that's going to start to be this giant puzzle that's going to make ships even that much more interesting. I'm going to go here real quick here, catch up on chat. Hey, Bingo, hope you're well. Bingo Winchester in chat. Citizen Joel says, are scanners and radars the same? CIG's info still lists both on the matrix of older ships, but a ship like the Zeus CS doesn't even have scanners. So I look at Captain Jones. I could be wrong, and someone may correct me in chat here, but I believe scanners and radars are essentially the same thing. I believe the radar is a subsystem within the ship, and the scanner is what sends out the radar, like the actual wave. That's the way I look at it. Or perhaps another way to look at it is the scanners are just a legacy term that still fits within the radar umbrella. And when we are using our radar, we are actively scanning. So Subliminal says, I imagine it links in with engineering gameplay. Like if you're hacking me and X fuse gets removed or destroyed, neither of us have access to systems on that grid. Yeah, I would think so. I would think by removing a fuse in a relay, that by removing that relay, you are then shutting off all power to that section, thus nullifying that area of the ship. Now, the critical thing becomes, how do you harden your ship? Let's say you are under active electronic attack from a ship and you are carrying sensitive data. One kind of just very blunt counter to that would possibly be shutting your ship down, shutting all power down. Perhaps that shuts the entire ship down, including its computer system. We don't totally know that yet. It's possible the computer system could still stay active. We'll have to see what CIG does with that. If it does, I would hope, like you're saying, Subliminal, that you could pull the fuse and relay out, servicing the computer system, and shut that down. Again, in the future, when computer systems are in ships, it's very, very possible that when someone boards a ship, you may run to guard the computer systems, right? Because they may be that important. Okay. I'm going to move over. By the way, the Cutter Red Festival Starter Pack is a starter pack that will be given away on Starjump Station this Friday, if you're interested in it. Let's go to ships real quick in the pledge store. We're going to go to our good friends Crusader Industries, and we're going to scroll down to we're going to find the Star Runner. Here it is. And we're going to go to the technical overview. Now, one of the things you'll notice here at the Star Runner is it has 5 medium computers. You can't see that little number there, but it's 5 medium computers. Okay, so let's then go to a ship like something comparable in size. Let's go to a Constellation. Let's do a Constellation Aquila, which is an exploration ship. We're going to get into a little bit of that and how it affects possibly scanning here in just a second. But let's go to that, and let's go to technical overview. Oops, sorry. And it currently has 1 medium computer listed. You see the difference there between 5 medium computers and 1 medium computer? That's a big difference for a ship roughly the same scale. Why is that? Well, the Star Runner is a data runner. Okay, it really ultimately is an electronic warfare ship. Okay, and if not electronic warfare ship, then it's a scanning ship, a data ship, however you want to like term that. But it's why it has a lot more computer capabilities. Now, I do think the Constellation Aquila will get an update to this and it will get more computers, but that gives you at least some idea. Let's go to another example. Let's go to maybe a slightly more modern example. We're going to go to the Origin 400i. Let's go ahead and find Ender's favorite ship. Go to the technical overview. Again, listed as 1 medium ship. Okay. Now, to get up to that 5 medium, I said 1 medium computer. To get up to that like 5 medium computer level, you really got to start like doing something kind of crazy. Like you need to, like I'm going to go to Drake again. I'll go to Drake. I'm going to go to something big like the Kraken. Okay. And you'll notice that the Kraken has 6 medium computers versus the Star Runner's 5 medium computers. The Star Runner is like 54 meters long or something like that. The Kraken is 270 meters long. So that gives you an idea of how important the computer systems are to a ship like the Star Runner. Okay. CIG's obviously been thinking about this. If they're giving the Star Runner damn near the same amount of computer power as a full-on, one of the largest capital ships in the game, or what will eventually be in the game, okay? We can check that again by going to the Herald. And again, a lot of new players to Star Citizen don't know much about the computer systems because it's not something that's talked about yet. It's not in game yet. Okay, so the Herald currently has a small computer system. I guarantee you this gets changed. I will bet all of Starjump on it that this will be changed and that this will probably get 3 medium computers at some point. Or it'll get like 6 small computers in it. Okay, that will change. Okay, so it kind of makes me wonder. Let's check the Scout. Here we go. Here's a Scout. I'm very curious. So the Scout has 1 small computer. Okay, so again, small ship. We'll see where they go with that. I think all these ships that are that have scanning arrays on them are going to get beefed up computer systems because again, the computer systems are what play into that. The Star Runner is the big key to that, to seeing where they're going to go with that, right? Because the Star Runner was always the ship that was known to be like the data ship. So that kind of gives us a little bit of an idea of what they're going to do with that. Carrick has 3 medium computers. Is that right, Kev? Let's look. I think you are right. But that's really interesting because, again, everyone, you're going to see CIG do a lot of updates across every ship on its computer systems when computer systems come out. They're not going to update them now, and they're definitely not going to update the Spectrum page because they don't know what it looks like yet, probably. But if I go here, okay, Kev, right, 3 medium computers. So you can see they're thinking about this. Why would the Carrick have 3 medium computers? Well, we know the Carrick does a couple things. It does cartography. It has antenna array that are supposed to stabilize unstable jump points and map those jump points. And it's supposed to have a pretty big radar system on it, scanning and radar suite. So again, it needs that extra bit of computer systems. That was just something they knew early on. Same thing with the Star Runner with its 5 medium computers, which is absolutely crazy. Again, when computer systems come into game, you're going to see ships like the Star Runner get real popular again. I can promise you. I'm going to switch over to Hangar Link real quick here. I want to show a couple things here. So when looking at scanning in and of itself, like just general scanning gameplay, which means scanning with your passive systems, your active pings, and doing surveying, pathfinding, scanning, except resource scanning, all that stuff. Certain ships obviously are going to do that well. I'm not claiming this to be all the ships, for example, but ships like the Cutter Scout, the Herald, the Terrapins, again, all ships with dedicated scanners and computer systems. Ships like the Mercury Star Runner. I do think you're going to see that go on into exploration ships as well. So ships like the Aquila, Corsair, the Zeus Mark II ES, and even later things like the 600i Explorer. I guarantee it will get the same ability. The Carrick that was just mentioned, and of course ships like the Odyssey, right? For sure are going to have big scanning suites that allow it to scan and gather and analyze data, okay? All these ships and probably more, okay? You could also probably say capital ships in general will probably have unique scanning capabilities above the average ship just because they have larger scanners, right? But moving on down, after the Herald, one speculative ship that I think will probably be one of the biggest monsters in this game of scanning will be the Endeavor, and specifically the Endeavor with the telescope array. I'm going to put this in the profile view so we can see it a little better. But that radar dish here, if you go read some of this telescope radar thing, if you go read back on it a little bit, one of its primary things is to be able to pull out data from a very far distance, right? So it's essentially scanning, but at like a really far distance. Okay, that's the goal here between this module. So I see all these ships as having a big role to play in future scanning capabilities, possibly within your fleet. I think this will definitely extend out to other ships. Okay, this is by no means all of them. You could make an argument for the Pioneer. having a really good scanning system in it because of its nature, what it's supposed to do. There's other ships that would fall in this category that should have good scanning systems. Again, I mentioned capital ships and especially military capital ships, right? So ships like the Perseus, the Polaris, the Idris, the Javelin, Hammerhead, all those may be having above average scanners because they are military in nature and need to be able to reach out and see what is in front of them. Um, Now let's move to stealth, which is, again, we talked a little bit about that. It's another active form of electronic warfare. These are some of the ships currently playing in that in that regime. We have ships like the Razor EX, Sabre. Obviously, there's the Sabre Comet and stuff too. The variants on that, the Hornet Ghost Mark II and the Hornet Ghost Mark I, of course, the Vanguard Sentinel, the Eclipse, and there's probably others here as well. I don't have a list of all the stealth ships in Star Citizen, but essentially any ship that can use stealth or has inherent stealth features to it will play a big role in the entire electronic warfare puzzle. Some ships are more actively doing that than others. I think this also applies to the Firebird series. Chat can maybe let me know if I'm wrong on that. The Firebird and the Peregrine, stuff like that, they may have some stealth capabilities as well. But there again, there's other ships that fall into this category, but it's a category that's important not to forget because stealth is, whether it's through coatings and materials to low observability to computer systems on board the ships, essentially countering IR and EM signature output of the ship. Maybe it's mitigating that or clamping it down a little bit. Whatever systems are in place to make these stealth ships, that is active electronic warfare essentially. Okay. Next, I want to go down to the support category, and this kind of leans into what I was saying before. And while I think any ship that does electronic warfare or has a large focus on scanning in general, I think will play a role in this support category. I wanted to call out a few ships here that I think are uniquely positioned for the support category when it comes to electronic warfare. And some of that is just due to pure size, right? So first, let's talk about the Nautilus, one of my favorite ships. Currently, I think the Nautilus is just scoped to carry the 3 different items, and it's mine loaders or mine dropper offers, whatever we want to call it. It's our mine dispensers. There we go. Jeez. It can carry the Tephra homing mine. It can carry the I forget what it's called, the Sentry mine, whatever it's called, and then it can carry the Nemo mine disposal drone. Okay, we know that for a fact. We have also seen some early, and I'm wondering if I have those. Do I have those handy? I don't think I do, but let me check for you all. Bear with me, folks. We also know we've seen some hints here and there of further development on mines. And with those further developments, we have seen some kind of wild stuff that very possibly could be electronic countermeasure mines. And I want to see if I have any of that up. I may not, so bear with me if I don't. I'm searching to see if I have it. Bear with me, bear with me. I thought I had it in this folder. Stand by, everybody. Where did I put that? I had it here. I may not have it though. That happens. Oh, here we go. Found it. We have seen some visuals on mines. They kind of look like this. This is from ISCs. They were on screens. You can see some of the mines here with their things coming out. And this looks like the Tephra homing mine, or very similar to the Tephra homing mine. It doesn't look exactly like it. But essentially the idea, at least how we think these are going to work, is these home in on ships. And these little sensors come out. And whenever those sensors hit a ship, they detonate the mine. But we also saw interesting stuff like this. It's kind of interesting. Look at this mine here with this kind of electronic or electric kind of energy wave kind of going out here. That makes me think that quite possibly we will see some sort of EM or electronic warfare mine that would make a lot of sense. If you can imagine a future battle space where um, a Nautilus comes in and deploys 5 or 6 EM mines or electron or EWAR mines, and those mines allow for various capabilities for one side of one set of the aggressor. It's going to allow them to disrupt communications with the other ships or disrupt their radar scanning and ping. It may allow them to not lock on with torpedoes or missiles or what have you. So I could see, I've heard a lot of people in the past say, "What's the Nautilus is no good. Mines are going to be terrible." Mines could have a big role to play in future combat, especially if mines are dispensed around future space stations, in orbit above ground bases, et cetera, et cetera. It could really have an effect on that overall battle space. Here's another set of mines. You can see other designs here. So where this is going is we know CIG is working on mines. We know that they are trying different things and willing to experiment. This one here, again, has me very intrigued. I wish we could see a little bit more about what type of mine this is, although it doesn't really say. But if I had to guess, and based off everyone I've talked to, I'm pretty confident we're going to see EMP mines and or possibly just electronic warfare disruptor mines. Okay, so I do think that is coming. So stay tuned. So I do think, going back to our Nautilus, it could play a future support role and possibly even a future offensive role in electronic warfare. Next, we have the Polaris. The Polaris was long stated as having a really big radar system, a capital radar system. I think it still has a capital radar technically, or size, whatever they call that. We don't really know what that means in the bigger scheme of things. We don't really know if having a capital radar, like what benefits that brings to the table. However, I hope it's more than just distance. I'm hoping it has the ability to find ships that are operating a little bit more stealthily, stuff like that. So we'll have to see how that plays. But I see the Polaris, and again, the original pitch for the Polaris being sort of a command and control ship. Command and control is generally done through radio communication, signal integration across multiple ships and stuff. So, for example, imagine a future scenario where the Polaris scans a really big section of a certain star system, gets a lot of data on where groups are at, and is able to then transmit that information to not only the fighters protecting the Polaris, but other ships within a fleet, other ships within its fleet, even ships that haven't arrived in system yet. Okay, very big. Thief says Nautilus is going to be awesome. Hope class defenses. I agree. Thief says area of denial. Yep, exactly, 100%. Moving on, again, we're kind of getting into that place now with capital ships where we're now getting to military ships. And I didn't include the Kraken here, but you probably could. But focusing specifically on the Idris and Javelin, we're now getting to a certain class of ship that one expects to have a certain level of electronic warfare protection built in. And that may be through hardened computer systems, encryption. Maybe that still has to be done through blades, but I would hope that they have computer systems that could support enough blades to harden ships like this. Again, these are military vessels. They're expected to be hardened and encrypted to some degree. These shouldn't be, and where I'm going with this is for a hacker in the game, it should be much easier to hack into, say, a Caterpillar than it is a Javelin. Okay. Again, we're talking different levels of electronic warfare protection built into the ships themselves. So, in a way, when you have ships that are hardened against it, they can play that support role. Okay. So again, that gives you a brief idea of how different types of ships, whether they're exploration in nature, science in nature, or data runners like the Star Runner, or scanning ships like the Terrapin, it shows you the role they can play in future EWAR and scanning gameplay. Stealth ships obviously have a role to play in that, and just their ability to actively mitigate passive and active scans on them and slip by those defenses. Again, radar systems are, in a way, a level of defense for a ship, right? They let it know who's coming into its space. Ships that can defeat that fence, get past that area of knowledge that the radar is generating, again, you're actively engaging in electronic warfare at that point. And then obviously support ships. This is by no means all of them. Like I said, we can go on and on about additional ships that fit in the EWAR and scanning category. But where does this all take us? It takes us to three primary places. One, we need to know what the future of computer systems and ships are. This is something that has not been asked of CIG in a long time. I would implore people the next time we have an Invictus or IAE and they have the all ships Q&A, I'd love for someone to start asking those questions. What is the future thinking for computer systems? It's very obvious CIG is still considering this because they're still putting that in as a technical metric on ships. But it would be good to know what their plans are with that. Okay, we've only heard the tiniest little bits of information. The next thing is what is CIG's vision for electronic warfare? I think we're going to see that start to coalesce once they get a couple things in game: resource management, and the next level of radar scanning. Okay, which we know is coming. They have talked a little bit about that. So when those two things come on board, and we get those computer systems, I think CIG then and only then can really start to talk about electronic warfare. Now, the first bit of electronic warfare we're going to get in game is hacking, for sure. That's the first version of electronic warfare we're going to get. Probably the first ship that we're going to get that plays into that role is the Legionnaire, probably. I even think that will play a role in electronic warfare before the Star Runner, because I think the computer systems and turning data into a commodity has to be in place before the Star Runner is viable in the electronic warfare gameplay. But the Legionnaire can really play a role as soon as hacking comes online. So I think the Legionnaires will still probably be the first ship that does that. Verdigris, you know what? I'm an idiot and didn't add the Legionnaire. I'm glad you said that. The good thing is we have this amazing tool called Starjump Fleet Viewer. We're going to add the Legionnaire now. There it is. I would put that. I would probably put that I mean, this category here, I mean, there's really needs to be, I would really separate them into other categories like electronic attack, electronic protection, support, etc. But for right now, I would put this in its own category, which would be electronic attack. And I would probably put other ships there as well. I would probably put ships like the Terrapin, the Star Runner. I would probably put the Herald and the Cutter Scout. I'd probably put those in those categories. Yeah, currently based off what we know, that's what I would do. And I would have I'd add this piece of text and I would put this as attack, or I would put this at, you know what, I would just make a general EWAR category, I think, and that would sort of sit where these ships are. We know that's the case for them, and I would probably put the Vanguard Sentinel over here too because it has an active role in that. You could also probably put ships like the Tracker, both Mark 1 and Mark 2, in that category. I think they'll play a role to play there as well. If I've read what the tracker is supposed to do properly. Again, this is by no means all the ships, but that kind of gives you an idea. Ultimately, I think we can add ships like the Antares, the Mantis, to a lesser degree, yeah. I mean, there's lots of ships here. Obviously, we could go on and on. All these ships would probably be attack. I would say if it reaches out and affects a ship negatively, then it's attack in nature, right? And you can put the Cuddy Blue and others in there. Again, I'm not covering every single ship. We are going to do that in a Starjump station episode in the future when we start going through some of what we expect to be in Star Citizen 1.0. Okay. Phoebe says, when it comes to alien stealth ships with like the Talon and Prowler, do you think there'll be more? Do you think that there will be more about what they're made out of rather than electronics and stuff? Yeah, I think there could be material stuff involved in that, Phoebes, if that's what you're talking about. I think there will be material considerations that make them either hardened against electronic attack or electronic penetration, and or there could be encryption on alien-based ships that make them harder to break into via hacking and stuff. We'll have to see. I know that Asperia as a manufacturer is making like human replicas of the alien ships, but I would imagine they'd still bring over some of that alien encryption type stuff, right? I would expect that. So, okay, one second. Okay, so continuing on. Quick, sorry, bringing up a window. Sorry, everybody. So, anyways, there you go. That is a little bit about scanning and EWAR. Again, it's a very large topic. It's a very large topic, and one that you could probably speak on for hours and hours and hours. I think it's extremely interesting thing to talk about, especially right now as we head towards Star Citizen 1.0 and we start sort of figuring out what is going to, where we're going to see some of these ships net. I ultimately do think, and one of the last points I forgot to add a minute ago, is that we're going to see bigger EWAR based ships. I would expect some sort of capital sized EWAR ship or large EWAR ship that primarily focuses on disrupting fleet operations. If CIG ever did a ship like that, I would be immediately a buyer. I think CIG is going to probably wait, though, to figure out where electronic warfare, computer systems, hacking, how all that gels together to form a concept for what a capital level EWAR ship would be able to do, like what its functionality is, all that kind of stuff. So once again, everyone, I want to remind everybody that to do not forget to join us Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, for Starjump Station's return. Finally, it's coming back. Starjump Station, cannot wait. Again, I've been really excited to get back to Starjump Station. We're going to be talking about the year ahead. So we're going to be talking about the letter from the chairman, playability, optimization. We're going to be talking about 4.0. We're going to be talking about the road to 1.0, and we're ultimately going to be talking about Squadron 42 because they all sort of play into that. Devil, thank you so much for that follow. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone that followed. Do not forget that on Starjump Station, we're going to be doing some giveaways. I've got 2 ship scale posters, 2 ship contact sheet posters, and I've got a ship to give away, either a Fortune or a Cuddy starter pack. Okay, so we're going to do one of those. Make sure you show up. Make sure you follow the channel. It gives you more ability to buy tickets. We will do the giveaway on both YouTube and Twitch, like we always do. And with that, everyone, I'm going to send you over to someone who I was a guest on their show just the other day. Make sure you give them a lot of love. It is Space Tomato Gaming. Make sure you give Keenan a little bit of Starjump love when you go over there. Everyone, thanks for hanging out today. I really appreciate it. It's a big topic. We are going to talk about it many more times in the future. Hope to see you all for Starjump Station Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern on either our Starjump YouTube channel or Starjump_Grim on Twitch. I will talk to you all then. Have a great rest of your week. See you in just a couple of days. We're going to start this raid. Again, make sure you give Keenan a little bit of love when you go over there, everybody, and stay tuned for more Starjump news. Make sure you follow the Starjump Twitter if you haven't already. Very important. You want to do that for all of our latest information. All right, everybody, have a good one. Give Keenan some love.
Just for the top turret.